You know, we as a people, we have a very deep and rich culture. A culture that shows itself in so many brilliant ways. From the way that we dress, the way that we dance, the ebonics, the slang. It's in our walk, the rhythm, the soul. There's so many great things about the black culture itself. It's so catchy and infectious that even other races of people imitate it, and rightfully so. But there's also parts of our culture that is somewhat anti our survival. It's anti the laws of the land. It's anti what we would call uh, being civilized, particularly in a place of the corporate world where you're actually holding jobs, in a place where it's called for us to be professionals. And it's time that we take a look at that. It's time that we understand that although we can fluently talk Ebonics or even uh, what we would call good English, we need to know when and where to tune down some of the cultural influences that we have been so caught up on just most of our lives. You know, we kind of set ourselves up for failure in some ways because there's certain standards, be it education, be it intellect, um, that when you enter the working class job arena, they're going to be expecting of you. And so if you're not um, well abreast with how to carry yourself and all you know, because we can only do what we know, which is very important for us to learn as much as we can, particularly in an area that would be conducive for our survival, our prosperity, our success. So if we're not abreast in conducting ourselves in the right way when it comes to life skills, communication, and the overall ethics of being in the work field, then where do we go and what do we do when we decide to take ourselves out of the street life, when we decide to go into the real corporate world or corporate arena, which would be new grounds for some of us, like it was for myself, having done an extensive amount of time in prison uh, and living most of my life and making most of my living in the streets, and then going into environments such as prison where you have a condensed amount of criminals and criminal activity, that I only continue to learn more and get better at what I already know, which is not what's conducive to me coming home and being a productive working class citizen. Of course, there are exceptions, inside the prison or even while you're home where you can learn. You can go ahead and apply yourself to different academic and vocational trades and education so you can learn something different, so that you can do something different. But I believe that a big part of the problem is that the culture uh, sets us up for failure in the sense of what it praises and what it shuns upon. And a lot of time we'll praise the gangster or thug or balling lifestyle, but we don't put emphasis on the education. Like, get that dude some dot that just got that degree. Congratulations. Pet that dude back who you see that younger, he going to school. The one who decided not to be a part of this. And then let it be a catchy thing where that's cool. That's what's up. Other than that, we're just going to keep having culture clashes. And by the way, while we into this, I just want to remind you all to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can get notifications if you like my material. We have to look at the bigger picture and just stop looking at what's around us. Our people are some of the biggest consumers, but we fall short when it comes to owning things, owning property, owning lands, owning businesses. And so think about it. Just think about it. When you go get you something to eat and you go to that corner store, who is in there? When you go into that curry out, who's in there? When you go into that convenience store, who's in there? A lot of people, they don't look like us. They aren't our race of people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It appears that they are able to get loans and they are able to have access to more opportunity than ourselves. And there is evidence of a system being designed for it to be that way, but we don't help ourselves or make it any better when we decide to let material things for the here and the now be the cause of whatever esteem that we may have. And so it creates a cycle that we identify ourselves and we don't feel good unless we're wearing particular name brand clothes. That we're driving this. And a lot of what we consume is very high-end, expensive things. And a lot of times, the consumers don't even hold jobs. And if they do, it's jobs that really, from a budget, economically smart, intellectual point of view, it just don't add up. You know, you may have a $80,000 car, but you're living where you may not be paying much rent. And that may sound like that's good, I'm getting over, but no, at the end of the day, it makes you stand out as somebody that's interacting in some kind of activity that is less likely to be legal. When I was younger, I did the same thing. And that's why I'm telling you, because I would hate to see someone go through something that I've already been through. And I feel like it's my responsibility to at least put the information out there, because I believe if I had someone to break things down for me, maybe, because I can't say that no one ever tried to talk to me or, you know, that I even would listen. But again, it's my responsibility, having been through, and to see people like myself going through and not tell them what I believe, what I've learned, the insight that I've gained. But all that money that you're spending on material things, if you just look at the bigger picture, it may inspire you to want to save it It may inspire you to want to invest it, and to learn about these different avenues of how to make your money grow for you in a legal way. And then you'll have your people going to stores and having land and real estate and shares and running businesses that look like you, because it'll be part of what you have created. We have made it very risky in our culture. Yes, again, it's a rich, brilliant culture filled with talent and beautiful people, soulish people that just move and groove, that are very resilient and strong like anyone else. But there's another part of the culture that's anti our growth and our development. There's another part of the culture that does us a disservice because we have identified ourselves by what we put on, by what we are driving. We are identifying ourselves by material, external things. And a lot of these things, from an economically, intellectual point of view, we really can't even afford. And so, to keep up with the style, to keep your drip going, you have to continue to indulge yourselves in activities whereby you can actually consume these things. How long do you think you'll be able to continue this cycle without ending up in a place where you don't want to be? And I would say prison, but prison is not that bad compared to the other alternative, which is the cemetery. So you have to dig deep, and you got to decide what and who you want to be in life, and is it worth it? And the thing about it that I've learned is that what we continue to do, of course, it grows a habit. It becomes a part of us. We begin to identify ourselves with it. If I ain't got the latest shoe or the nicest shirt, again, very expensive material things, if I don't have that, then I'm not feeling too good about myself. So the habit to feed my esteem and my ego is to continue to consume these things. My way of consuming these things, especially that are this expensive, in many cases, is by interacting in illegal activity, whatever that may be for you. Now, say you do this and you get away with this for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Well, the thing about it is that the more you get away with it, the longer you get away with it, the older you are getting. Believe me, if you're going to get caught for breaking the law, which it was designed for you to do, prisons are a $billion industry. That's why they putting them up everywhere and they filling them up. And a great percentage of them are black men and now even women. And then Latino coming behind us. But if you're going to go and you're going to get an extensive amount of time, you probably want to go while you're young. A 20-year-old with 10 years will be home when they're about 30. A 20-year-old with 20 years will be home when they're about 40. You still got some life. But the longer you get away with it, the older you get, and you're 30 and you're 40, and now you're getting 10 and 20 years. You don't want to be in an institution with your children and your grandchildren too out there, and maybe even your great grandchildren. You don't want to be in prison with illnesses that can possibly come upon you. You know, as you get older, sometimes we are challenged with our health and things of that nature. So you want to take a look at that. You want to really think about that. And there's so much evidence before you, because if you're in that lifestyle, then you have to know. You know, it's a very common thing. You have to know so many people who have went before you that have ended up in the graveyard and in prison, and probably are still in prison, who have been there for an extensive amount of time. Now, if that's the risk you want to take and that's the chance you want to take, of course, that's on you. Your life is your life. You have to own it. But again, it's just my responsibility, being a person who have been through a lot of this chaotic system that is just it's just a shame. It's a shame to come up in an environment and find yourself in situations like that and not really knowing which way to go. And then deciding that this is how you're going to live your life in spite of the statistics that's in front of you, that's evident, you know, in your own observation and your own experience. It's pretty it's pretty sad. And I didn't come to convince you otherwise. Like, I'm not telling you to put down your drug lifestyle or whatever means that you may be going about that may be illegal to obtain certain things and live that lifestyle, because I'm not in a position to give you a job. You know, I'm not the one who can take the candy from the baby and give them an apple or orange. I'm not in that position. But the position I am in is to give you some information that whereby you may think about it and you may decide to do something different with your life. When I was younger, no one broke it down to me. No one really showed me the bigger picture. To be honest, I didn't even know what school was for. I didn't know. I thought it was something that just was like a babysitter while your mom was at work, or a babysitter while it gave your parents a break. I didn't know that education was linked to a career and so forth and so on. I really didn't know, you know. And I'm sure a lot of you all, with all the information and technology and stuff that we have today, you know a lot more at your age than I did when I was your age. But there's some things you just can't get out of a book. You just can't get from Google. And it's called experience. So we have to take a real good look at our culture, because a lot of times it's the culture that's promoting this. Be it what we're seeing on TV, what we're hearing on the radio, you know, what we're seeing in our environment, and it's a cycle. It just continues to enforce. It reinforces. And one generation after the other, it's nothing new under the sun. I see the same thing, the same cycle in our youth. Young men and women whom I happen to have a burden for.